Well, hi there. I'm Sandy Allnock in for Ellen Hutson, and I have a really fun card today. Carly, who you probably know, challenged me to mix the Circus stamps with the gentleman, the leading gentleman stamp. And this is what I came up with. And the inspiration for it is from the Greatest Showman show poster. So I'm going to show you how I did this. There were some really big fails along the way, but I think it came out pretty amazing myself. In the long run, there's some things I absolutely adored about the process of making this card. Lots and lots of different mediums. I had to stamp this twice, so I did take pictures along the way so you can see what the masking ended up looking like. First, I stamped the gentleman, because whenever you do your stamping, when you're going to do layered masking, is to stamp the thing in the front first. And so I did him and his hat. Probably could have done his hat first and then him, but there you go. And then I just started stamping the elements behind him. And I arranged so that the elephants would, excuse me, have their trunks up in the air and that sort of thing, have the monkey flying, etc. And then I got out my craft assistant, which is the thing that I get messy on, from Ellen Hutson. It's just a piece of metal that you can clean up really easily, so it's awesome. Now I'll take off all the masks, which is always the fun part of doing masking, is removing all of those. And this one was stamped once, and then I did this background. I did have to redo the whole thing because I screwed up something majorly that I'll tell you about along the way. But this is the same basic process that I did for the first steps of the card anyway, even though this was on the failed version. And restamping all of this was not the best fun. I'm just going to tell you that. So I get to show you what not to do before you get started trying one of your very own. I did decide I was going to draw a mustache on the leading gentleman. I will add a little bit more to him on the final version of this card, but I wanted to give him the mustache with the little curly cues on the end, because that's what I think of when I think of the guy who's in charge of the whole. I've got a couple of distress oxides to use for the background, and I'm not masking any of this out. You may have noticed I already took off the mask, so I'm going to do the background color over the whole thing. In the poster, everything is this blue color, and I wanted to have that with some of the black at the bottom, so I'm just going to layer this on here. And what I found for spreading this out, you can tell the difference kind of if you look closely between the two blobs of smooshies. If I use the moisture of a baby wipe to barely dampen my blender brush, it tends to do a little bit better job of spreading out the color. And that's just a little something that I've found. It's still not great. I'm still terrible at doing ink blending. And you guys may have lots of other people you can watch for ink blending tips. That's not what this is for, because I'm a terrible ink blender. But the idea that I got going on here was to do the blue at the top and at the bottom, and then add more of the black at the bottom section. And then when I wanted to add the lights in the top part, I took just little pieces of masking and covered up portions of it so I could make 3 spotlights by using a baby wipe to just lift off a little bit of color. And it was super, super easy to do. Now after this was when the first version did a big fail. So here we have the second version. And my blending was a little smoother, etc. But I learned from my first one, because what I had tried on the first one was to do colors in each one of these with distress markers, and then to watercolor it. And this was not on like paper that was working very well on, so everything got curled, and it was just too much. It was just absolutely too much. What I realized is going over these animals in a distress marker after having all this distress ink in the background, and this is a Stormy Sky marker, it just blended in. It's like I didn't need to use water with it. So I didn't use water on this version, and it made a huge difference. Now I do have another fail that you'll get to see in just a few minutes, because yeah, I had another fail along the way on this one. Thank you, Carly, for the throwdown challenge. But nonetheless, I did come up with a solution for it. And sometimes it's more valuable to see the solutions to a train wreck than to hide the train wreck from you, right? That's what I hear from people. You don't mind seeing when I make a giant mess out of things. So what I'm doing here is just using that single color, because all of those on the poster, the movie poster, it was just like a big blue blob that had highlights on each one of the characters that were in the background. In the movie poster, of course, it was all people back there, so mine is just going to be all animals. But I'm leaving a highlight on the top of each shape of the animal. And once it gets down to a certain point on the animal, I just let it all go into the blue itself. But I'm leaving those top shapes just so it's kind of flat and graphical in that kind of a way, so that it turns into this nice background. The paper that I'm doing all this on, because I know somebody's going to ask, and I forgot to mention it at the beginning, is the Canson XL, because I don't find that distress markers work well on a lot of other papers for me, so I tend to use the Canson XL for that. And I'm just filling all of this in the background. I'm not going to use any water. I'm just letting the color from the markers sink into the paper. And I added a little bit of a horizontal ground underneath, and then that was that. So I wanted to add some color to this guy. And this was where this particular version went south. I had tried it on the first one, and I should have known from that one that it was not going to work, because on the other one, I had added, black and skin tone and all kinds of things, thinking it would mix with the blue and then it would look like that person in shadow. And on this one, I thought, I'm just going to do it in the blue, because the blue is the thing that's in the background of the rest of the animals anyway. So why not just do that? And then I'll just add his red cape. And that's actually not a cape, it's a jacket he's wearing, but I was going to pretend it was a cape because in the stamp, the leading gentleman just has a shirt on, just a regular dude shirt. And that wasn't going to work as an outfit for the Grand Master of the circus. So, yeah, you'll see how that works out, because it looked really ugly. But I got my embossing done for my sentiment, and I had tried using some pencil to recover my little figure there. And doesn't he look awful? It just looked so terrible. So I opted to go the safe route, and I added some Copic marker here. I just stamped the little guy and put him on some Nina and started using my Copics on him. And what I did was modify him so that he's wearing the hat. He's also got that in the show poster thing, in his show outfit, he's got a gold vest on and then a white collar, and there's little gold buckles here and there. And I made the colors really dark because I needed it to kind of feel like it was going to fit within the whole darkness of the whole card anyway. But I used a white gel pen and a gold gel pen, both the Uniball Signos, and then added him, popped on dimensionals onto a card. And that was that, which was a whole lot of fun to do, even though I had train wrecks along the way. And even my sentiment is crooked on kind of a line, because that's how it was on the poster. So that was how I interpreted Carly's challenge to combine these stamps and use some distress markers along the way. So I may have used a lot of other stuff and done a lot of other changes to it, but there you go. Go see the blog post, leave me a comment here and over there and wherever you want, and I will see you again very soon. Take care!